Hey guys, what is going on? This is Alan here, and we're doing a review of Shadow of Mordor. Now, this is my first review, so try and bear with me. So let's get straight into it. The Lord of the Rings Shadow of Mordor, when this game was announced, it piqued my interest because I'm a huge fan of the Lord of the Rings. I've read all the books and watched the films multiple times, absolutely love the lore and everything about that. So, when the game came out and I saw the trailers, I wanted to be excited for it, but I have my doubts because there have been very few good Lord of the Rings games. For example, the only ones that I remember are, of course, the Two Towers and the Return of the King games that were on PS2 and the original Xbox, as well as the Battle for Middle-earth 1, the original one. They're the only good Lord of the Rings games I can recall. And don't get me started on the Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth 2, that was atrocious. Anyway, so when this was announced, I had my doubts as to whether it'd be good or not. So, is it good or not? Well, we'll look into that now, and hopefully I'll be able to answer that for you with this review. So briefly, the first thing we're going to talk about is performance and graphics to get it out of the way. Now, I played this on PC, so I'm going to be strictly talking about that. I don't own one of the next-gen consoles, so I'm not sure how it runs on that or anything. So overall, the game runs pretty well now. I was running it on AMD 7950, which is about 3 years old graphics card right now, so it's nothing new, not top of the line or anything. And I was able to run the game at pretty much ultra settings, except for textures, of course, because it only has 3 gigs VRAM, which we'll get into in a second. As well as I had shadows on medium as well, because that's pretty demanding. Everything else was pretty much maxed out, and I got an average of 45 to 55 frames per second in the Mordor area. And then later on, when we moved to the second map, yes, there's 2 maps, but I'd get an average of 35 to 45 because there's a lot more grass and detailed areas in the second map, so it's a bit more demanding. So yeah, performance, even though it's a console port, it actually performs really well. Though I will say the VRAM requirement is a bit stupidly high. I mean, Crysis 3 maxed out with 8 times anti-aliasing will only use about 3.3 gigabytes of VRAM. So this is obviously just lazy optimization by the developer, but however, otherwise it works really well. So that's all I'm going to say about the performance. Now, in terms of graphics, the game does look pretty damn good, so I'm pretty happy about that. Like as you can see in the gameplay, it looks really well. Obviously, because this is a YouTube video, it's going to be a bit more condensed, so it doesn't look as good as it can, but it does look like a next-gen game, so very happy with that. Alright, so that's all about that. Now, what about the story? Because for a Lord of the Rings game, it really has to have a good story and to be engaging. And I have to say, they do it really, really well. It's a very engaging game, very engaging story that will really capture you if you really like the Lord of the Rings. So, how the story plays out is basically, I'm not going to spoil anything, don't worry, but you are a ranger from Gondor called Talion, and you're stationed at the Black Gate. Now, this game takes place in between The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings. So, at the end of The Hobbit, before the Battle of the Five Armies, Sauron is driven out from Dol Guldur by the White Council, Gandalf, Saruman, Galadriel, and a few others. But he then takes up residence in Mordor straight after that. So this is around the same time that this game takes place. So as Sauron takes back Mordor, his servants overrun Mordor and kill your garrison, your family, and yourself, Talion. But before Talion can pass on into the next life, a wraith latches on, and he ties Talion to the earth, or binds him to the earth. I'm not sure how that really works, but basically Talion can't die. Well, he can die, but he can't pass on, so he's kind of reanimated. That's basically how that works. But the two of you together then embark on a journey of revenge throughout Mordor to kill those who wronged you and your family, as well as the wraith has his own reasons for going after your enemies. I'm not going to spoil who the wraith is because you'll learn that later on, and what he is or whatever, but it's pretty cool, and I really like the premise of the story. It's never really been done before, and it kind of ties into a new aspect of the lore and explore more areas that probably you wouldn't have known about. So very cool, very engaging story. They do the story really well. The voice acting in everything is exceptional as well. Troy Baker being the lead actor for your character, Talion, who is Joel from The Last of Us, and he's also the lead character in Famous Second Son as well. So he gets around. He's very, very talented anyway. So voice acting on par. Even all the Uruk-hai, or the Uruks, sorry, what am I saying? All the Uruks are really doing well as well. So yeah, very good story, except the ending. I'm not going to spoil it, don't worry, but the ending was a bit disappointing, so I'm going to have to knock off a few points later on for that. I mean, everything was done really well up until the very end, and then they just kind of dropped the ball, in my opinion, there. So there's that. So let's get on to the gameplay. Well, it's very reminiscent of Assassin's Creed in certain elements. I'm not saying it's copying Assassin's Creed, but it's kind of pretty similar in the way you stalk your targets, you mark targets, and you kind of like travel to an area, stalk them a little bit, and then ultimately go and kill them. As well as the whole exploration style and climbing up the broken towers, and they kind of act as viewpoints, just like in the Assassin's Creed games. But that's all really good, because if you're a fan of the Assassin's Creed games, you'll love that, and I really am. That's probably one of my favourite game franchises, so I was all for that. But the combat system is more intriguing. It's more like a copy of the Batman Arkham system, which works really, really well. And guys, the animations in this game are just perfect. They literally flow so well. I mean, if you look at the combat gameplay, it's just the different animations just look so good. They tie in together really well. Like when you're attacking someone, then you go and counter them. The animations they just work. The combat is amazing. It's pretty difficult, but then again, it's really engaging. Like no matter how good you are, you still need to plan out your attacks, because this game focuses more on tactics than just all-in-all combat. You really still need to stalk your enemies, find out their weaknesses, and use them against them. That's another great thing. So you can interrogate orcs, you can dominate them, and once you do that, you can get a look at how the society works. So you can like see we'll show you now a little bit of that in the video, but you can see that the way it works is the front runners are basically just captains, and the ones further back are more powerful captains, and then at the very back you have the war chiefs, who are like very powerful and very few weaknesses. But you can gain information about them by interrogating and dominating other orcs and learning more about them, and through that you can learn their weaknesses, and then you can use that against them. So certain war chiefs might be weak to Caragors, which are like wargs, or other war chiefs might be weakened by flames, and etc. So you can stalk them and blow up the fires, causing them to go on fire, weakens them a lot. Or you can bring a Caragor into battle, they're afraid of them, they do extra damage, etc, etc. And using these weaknesses against them will really, really benefit your abilities to dominate your enemies. As well as that, it's a progression system as well, which enables you to, upgrade your character, your wraith abilities, and your ranger abilities. And I'd say this is really well balanced as well, because you don't start off with everything unlocked, and you don't start off with the more powerful abilities starting off. There are certain abilities that are really good, but you only unlock after a certain amount of playtime. For example, the branding ability, which is probably the best ability in the game, where you can brand orcs and make them your followers, and create a little orc army, which is so much fun, by the way. But you don't earn that until like the last few chapters in the game, the last few hours, which is a good thing though, because it teaches you how to play the game beforehand and to get a feel for it before you start getting these overpowerful abilities, which you'll need later on in the game as the game gets progressively harder. So it's really well balanced in that era, and it's a lot of fun as well. The more orcs you kill and the more missions you progress through, the better abilities you get and the more powerful abilities you can unlock. So overall, very well done. So like the captains and the war chiefs in particular are very hard to take down, and they'll just call in hordes of orcs if you try and take them on head on, and no matter how good you are, you'll eventually die. And that brings us into the nemesis system, because this is probably the most interesting thing about this game. It really is it adds a next gen feel to the game. And why do I say this? It's because they give death a meaning in the game. In other games, when you die, you just restart from a checkpoint and it's like nothing happened. But when you die in this game, the game actually becomes much harder, because when you die, not only does the orc who killed you become a person, but when you die to, say, a random Uruk, he automatically gets promoted to a captain. So he gains like some armor, some new weapons, some personality, and he'll rank up as well. So then the next time you encounter him, he'll be harder to kill. He'll remember that you faced him and that you killed him, and he will say something like that. Like, for example, he'll say, it's no fun if every time I kill you, you come back, or something like that. You know, it's...
Swine! You left me for dead! Now I'll shred your heart and feed it to the categories!
It's really, really well done. And not only that though, if you keep dying to the same orc, you'll eventually promote him so much that he becomes super powerful. For example, in the game, I died to an Uruk captain who was rank 8, and I kept dying over and over, and eventually he got up to about rank 20, and like I basically made this this really low captain very powerful and my worst enemy. And the higher rank they get, the less weaknesses they have, and the more strengths they have. So you're making the game much harder for yourself by dying. And as I mentioned earlier, when you die, time passes, and the Uruk society, the way it works is they're always power struggling to try and get more up on each other and get stronger and higher ranks. So when you die, and time passes more quickly, so more orcs kill each other and get promoted. So at the time of your death, say 3 captains might die and more get promoted by killing them. So there are more orcs that are higher ranked than they were before, and therefore when you go to try and kill them, they're much harder to defeat. So it's really, really interesting, and it creates its own kind of your own kind of drama in a way, because every orc that kills you makes you want to go and kill them again. And when you face them, they will say to you that you killed them or they killed you. And if you hurt an orc and it gets away, when you face it again, it will remember that you heard it, and it will say, "You burned my face, prepare to die," or something like that. And it's really, really great. So the Nemesis system, I've gone on at length about this, but it's just really well done, and it really adds next gen feel to the game. I'm just saying, very, very impressive system, and that's really the highlight for this game, because you create your own enemies and you create your own, you don't create your own story, but it's really dynamic, and I really, really love that about the game. So I mean, I've kind of gone on at length about this, but essentially if you've made it this far through the walkthrough, if you made it this far through the review, you're clearly considering getting the game. And I know this review is late, by the way. The game's been out for nearly 2 weeks now on the PC, and even longer on the next gen consoles. But I wanted to have some time to play the game and get my thoughts around it and to enjoy it. But that's pretty much all I can say without just starting to go on and on. I have to knock off 1 point, so I'll give it 9 out of 10. Knock off a point for the poor ending, really. Everything else flawless pretty much, but that's the main gripe I have. So anyway guys, that's my overall review on this. Now I don't know if that's enough for you or not. Like I said, this is my first review of a game, so it's obviously going to leave a lot to be desired, but hopefully I've gotten across what I wanted to, that it's very good to the lore of the Lord of the Rings. It kind of works with that. The story is engaging, the combat system is fun, it's heavily reliant on the combat, so if you don't like the combat from Arkham series, you probably won't enjoy the game, because you're going to spend at least half of your time in the game fighting. But the story is really well done, the combat is engaging, the gameplay is fun, it looks great, it feels great, and the Nemesis system is absolutely fantastic. Like, just really adds a personal level to the game. But I'm just going to keep on waffling here if I keep going on. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay tuned, and please leave your feedback in the comments, really appreciate that, and have a great day guys. So guys, this brings us to the end of yet another video. Hopefully you liked it. Thanks so much for watching. If you did like it, please give me the thumbs up. If you disliked it, give me the thumbs down. Leave some feedback in the comment section as well. If you want to see some more content, please remember to subscribe, and that really helps me out, so it means a lot if you do. And also feel free to check out some more content as well, and I made it myself, so remember to have a great rest of your day guys, and yeah, until next time.